neglected to cut up the carcass. Now in the north it is very necessary that this should be done as soon as a kill is made. If not, the meat freezes so solidly as to turn the edges of the sharpest knife, and a 300-pound bear, frozen stiff, is no easy thing to put on a sled and haul over the rough ice. But, arrived at the spot, they found not only the kill, which they had doubted, but that Keesh had quartered the beast in true hunter fashion and removed the entrails. Thus began the mystery of Keesh, a mystery that deepened and deepened with the passing of the days. His very next trip he killed a young bear, nearly full grown, and on the trip following a large male bear and his mate. He was ordinarily gone from 3 to 4 days, though it was nothing unusual for him to stay away a week at a time in the ice field. Always he declined company on these expeditions, and the people marveled. "How does he do it?" they demanded of one another. "Never does he take a dog with him, and dogs are of such great help, too." "Why dost thou hunt only bear?" Klosh Kwan once ventured to ask him. And Keesh made fitting answer. "It is well known that there is more meat on the bear," he said. But there was also talk of witchcraft in the village. "He hunts with evil spirits," some of the people contended. "Wherefore his hunting is rewarded. How else can it be, save that he hunts with evil spirits?" "Mayhap they are not evil, but good, these spirits," others said. "It is known that his father was a mighty hunter. May not his father hunt with him so that he may attain excellence and patience and understanding? Who knows?" None the less, his success continued, and the less successful hunters were often kept busy hauling in his meat. And in the division of it he was just. As his father had done before him, he saw to it that the least old woman and the last old man received a fair portion, keeping no more for himself than his needs required. And because of this, and of his merit as a hunter, he was looked upon with respect and even awe, and there was talk of making him chief after old Klosh Kwan. Because of the things he had done, they looked for him to appear again in the council, but he never came, and they were ashamed to ask. "I am minded to build me an igloo," he said one day to Klosh Kwan and a number of the hunters. "It shall be a large igloo, wherein Ikeega and I can dwell in comfort." "Aye," they nodded gravely. "But I have no time. My business is hunting, and it takes all my time. So it is but just that the men and women of the village who eat my meat should build me my igloo." And the igloo was built accordingly, on a generous scale which exceeded even the dwelling of Klosh Kwan. Keesh and his mother moved into it, and it was the first prosperity she had enjoyed since the death of Bok. Nor was material prosperity alone hers, for, because of her wonderful son and the position he had given her, she came to be looked upon as the first woman in the village, and the women were given to visiting her, to asking her advice, and to quoting her wisdom when arguments arose among themselves or with the men. But it was the mystery of Keesh's marvelous hunting that took chief place in all their minds. And one day Ugh Gluk taxed him with witchcraft to his face. "It is charged," Ugh Gluk said ominously, "that thou dealest with evil spirits, wherefore thy hunting is rewarded." "Is not the meat good?" Keesh made answer. "Has one in the village yet to fall sick from the eating of it? How dost thou know that witchcraft be concerned? or dost thou guess in the dark, merely because of the envy that consumes thee?" And Ugh Gluk withdrew discomfited. The women laughed at him as he walked away. But in the council one night, after long deliberation, it was determined to put spies on his track when he went forth to hunt, so that his methods might be learned. So, on his next trip, Bim and Bawn, 2 young men, and of hunters the craftiest, followed after him, taking care not to be seen. After 5 days they returned, their eyes bulging and their tongues a-tremble to tell what they had seen. The council was hastily called in Klosh Kwan's dwelling, and Bim took up the tale. "Brothers, as commanded, we journeyed on the trail of Keesh, and cunningly we journeyed, so that he might not know. And midway of the first day he picked up with a great he-bear. It was a very great bear." "None greater," Bawn corroborated, and went on himself. "Yet was the bear not inclined to fight, for he turned away and made off slowly over the ice. This we saw from the rocks of the shore, and the bear came towards us, and after him came Keesh, very much unafraid. And he shouted harsh words after the bear, and he waved his arms about, and made much noise. Then did the bear grow angry, and rise up on his hind legs and growl. But Keesh walked right up to the bear." "Aye," Bim continued the story. "Right up to the bear Keesh walked, and the bear looked after him, and Keesh ran away. But as he ran, he dropped a little round ball on the ice, and the bear stopped and smelled it, then swallowed it up. And Keesh continued to run away and drop little round balls, and the bear continued to swallow them." Exclamations and cries of doubt were being made, and Ugh Gluk expressed open unbelief. "With our own eyes we saw it," Bim affirmed. And Bawn, "Aye, with our own eyes." And this continued until the bear stood suddenly upright, and cried aloud in pain, and thrashed his forepaws madly about. And Keesh continued to make off over the ice to a safe distance. But the bear gave him no notice, being occupied with the misfortune the little round balls had wrought within him. "Aye, within him," Bim interrupted, "for he did claw at himself, and leap about over the ice like a playful puppy. Save from the way he growled and squealed, it was plain it was not play, but pain. Never did I see such a sight." "Nay, never was such a sight seen," Bawn took up the strain. "And furthermore, it was such a large bear." "Witchcraft," Ugh Gluk suggested. "I know not," Bawn replied. "I tell you of what my eyes beheld." And after a while the bear grew weak and tired, for he was very heavy, and he had jumped about with exceeding violence, and he went off along the shore ice, shaking his head slowly from side to side, and sitting down ever and again to squeal and cry. And Keesh followed after the bear, and we followed after Keesh, and for that day and 3 days more we followed. The bear grew weak, and never ceased crying from his pain. "It was a charm," Ugh Gluk exclaimed. "Surely it was a charm." "It may well be." And Bim relieved Bawn. The bear wandered, now this way and now that, doubling back and forth, and crossing his trail in circles, so that at the end he was near where Keesh had first come upon him. By this time he was quite sick, the bear, and could crawl no farther. So Keesh came up close and speared him to death.